What's going on, filmmakers? I'm Alexander Don, and today I'm going to take you behind the scenes on a crazy music video I recently shot. But first, let's see the video.
Ce vrei, amigo, eu fac orice pot. O să-mi cumpăr casă, dar acum stau la bloc. Fac hip-hop grav, gen free pe cut. Mă aplaudă de la dicot. Stau degeaba câteodată, fiindcă prea bine mă mișc. Nu putem să facem planuri, că te sperii când te pișc. Și știu că dintr-o dată vrei să-ți faci timp, doar ca să stai cu oltii. Ia o geacă de pe cuier, nu e panică, nici de fumează 10 cuie. Câinii lângă mine, n-am de ce să fluier. Ziceau că-mi fac o statuie. Flic, flag, superstar, mamă cât de bine sar. Olchi fără impresar, n-are gust, mai pune sare. Boom, bap de la nice, facem ce pică la dice. N-ați văzut că se simte că sunteți falși? Mem, n-ați văzut că se simte că sunteți arși? Muzica voastră de nepoți și copilași. Flic, flag, superstar, mamă cât de bine sar. Olti fără impresar, n-are gust, mai pune sare. Boom, bap, de la nice, facem ce pică la dice. Înțeleg ce se întâmplă ca Jesus Christ. Fac bani și scheme, tu nu știi ce știi, nene. Chiar credeai că vând mere, te mușcăm ca vipere. Investesc ce câștig, merge bine când știi să trăiești prin ochii voștri. Multe skill-uri fix ca marfa la bazar. Bag un sal, dau un mil, sunt olteanul lăutar. Nu obțin niciun achievement, ca mereu de căutat. Eu mă cinstesc, dez, nu mă tirez, bre, sunt titirez, geamotorul de benz. Dacă prestezi, simți că te pompezi, vezi să nu te pierzi printre stele verzi. Sunt crazy clasat, grav am încasat, v-am deplasat că v-am urcat strada. Vă dau de mâncat ca să credeți în voi și am câștigat. Iar flic, flag, superstar, mamă cât de bine sar. Olti fără impresar, n-are gust, mai pune sare. Boom, bap, de la nice, facem ce pică la dice. N-ați văzut că se simte că sunteți falși? Flic, flag, superstar, mamă cât de bine sar. Olti fără impresar, n-are gust, mai pune sare. Boom, bap, de la nice, facem ce pică la dice. Înțeleg ce se întâmplă ca Jesus Christ.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. Now, let's dive in. We filmed the whole thing in less than 3 hours, which is crazy if I think about it, because we had so many different lighting setups. We started off with this location, which looked pretty bad at its first glance, but I knew that lighting would change everything about it and I can make it look very good. Now, before we continue, what I want you to do is go and hit that subscribe button, because I put a lot of work in this kind of videos and it will mean so much to me if you can do that. Thanks a lot. Now back to the video. I started off by mounting my backlights, which were Nanlite Forza 300B Mark II, and the B stands for bicolor, which is amazing because we were able to get down to 2700 kelvins to get that warm look. All my lights worked on V-mount batteries because we didn't have access to electricity. Then I added a little bit of haze and I placed my Nanlite PavoTube on the back wall to create some texture and have color contrast and a little bit of side light. For my key light, I used a Nanlite Forza 300 with a 120 parabolic softbox, and I placed it at 90-degree angle from my subject in order to get a more contrasty look. For this shoot, I used 3 cameras: a Sony FX6 on a DJI Ronin RS3 Pro, a Sony FX6 handheld, and a Fujifilm X-T4, mostly for special effects. You will see it's quite interesting. I started off my first shot on the gimbal, just to warm myself up and see how the lighting looks. But to be honest, my first shots looked horrible. I mean, I didn't like anything about the image, anything how it looked, and so I decided to close my key light and see how it looks that way. It looked interesting. I managed to get a few shots, but I was still not happy with what I was getting. And so I decided to shut my mind off and do something else. So I got my Fujifilm X-T4 with a super wide angle lens to get some different kind of shots. At this point, ideas started to fire up in my brain, and I started to get more creative and also more confident, because first two shots kind of put me down in confidence, but after I did something that I liked, my confidence spiked up. So with this camera, I moved quite a lot, and because we're using such a wide angle lens, it looked really cool. Now for these shots in post-production, I decided to add a film effect filter, so they appear that have been shot on an old camera. For the next shots, we didn't change the lighting much, but we added an old car into our scene and placed a Nanlite PavoTube under the car to create some separation. Only adding the car into our scene changed so much, and overall it improved our image and overall how everything looked. And this happened because the car has lights and the car has a lot of character, so it helped quite a lot. For the first couple of shots, I decided to go smooth and slow on the gimbal to have some safety shots so I can create some action contrast in editing afterward. Meaning I can have some smooth shots and then add some more intense shots so I can break the editing pattern. Then I did some 360 rolls on my gimbal, which turned out pretty nice. At this point, I was trying to get as many diverse shots as I can, so I can have a lot of footage to work with in post-production, because we didn't have a script and we improvised pretty much everything. So at this point I was trying my best to get as many shots as I can so I can have something to work with in post-production. Now because I really like this setup, I decided to do some shots on the Fujifilm camera as well, and they turned quite interesting. So I didn't use that many shots in the editing from this point, but I really liked how it looked. Alright, so now we're finally getting to the part where I use the Sony FX6 as well. For this scene, we changed our setup a little bit. Lighting didn't change much in terms of what lights we use, but our orientation regarding to the lights changed in order to have a different vibe. So now as you can see, we have the PavoTube in the back and it's visible in the shot, which gives us more color contrast, and to be honest, this scene was one of my favorite ones because it looks so good and the colors and everything matches perfectly. I made a few shots on a tighter lens and then I used a wide lens, which I think turned out a little bit better than the tighter lens. I feel like the wide shots have more life. They feel like you're dancing with them and it transmits a lot of energy. I was very hyped while shooting with the wide lens. I really felt like I was dancing with them, to be honest. Now for the next scene, I had in mind something totally different with the car, and I think it turned out really good. And I really love how we managed to get the backlight to hit the car and through the car. And because we had haze, it made everything so much better. We got some really good shots in this setup, and lighting wise was not different from previous scene. We only shot down our Forza 300B, so we turned it off. And then we changed the key light position in order to have more contrast. So basically our key light turned a little bit into a backlight. Because I really like the position of the car in regards to the background, I decided to try a different lighting in the same space. I moved the key light in order to have our talent lit as well, and I think it looked really nice. To make this even better, I decided to make some crane shot like on the gimbal, so I tried to mimic having a crane on set, and I think it gave a lot of value to our production. Because the lighting was so good, I decided to take some shots with the Fujifilm as well, and for my surprise, it looked really cool in this instance. It gave me that old rap music video vibe. To finish our shoot with a cool shot, I decided to move the car so we can have its backlights visible. I complemented my lighting with a PavoTube, which I set it up on red color to mimic the backlights of the car, and then I placed it behind the car so it's not that visible, but obviously as you can see in the shots, it's quite visible, especially on the super wide shots from Fuji, which to be honest, I didn't like how they turned out. But I tried some gimbal shots as well, which looked good, but at this point I was getting tired and I didn't really like what was going on. So we decided to stop it at this point. So I had enough shots in my head. I knew exactly that I have enough shots to work with. And so this was it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if this behind the scenes was helpful to you, please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see more of this content, you can watch my page. I have a lot of behind the scenes from different kind of shoots, and obviously I'm really curious what you think about this behind the scenes. Leave me down some comments, and until next time, have some fun shooting and create some epic content. Peace.